Why forgiveness is the only escape from the ego's war. Unforgiveness is not a thing. It is a shadow, a stain, a smear across the light of what is whole. It is every grievance, every speck of wrong, every trace of resentment or whisper of anger. It is the ghost of imperfection drawn onto what God created perfect. Unforgiveness is the false stain on the sonship that was never there. Rituals as disguised blocks. What are rituals but attempts to buy peace with form? Lighting candles, kneeling at altars, crossing oneself, fasting, flagellating, confessing, and performing holy gestures as if God could be reached by choreography. Rituals are distractions dressed in holy clothes, props on a stage of illusion. They masquerade as devotion but are merely rehearsals of separation because they treat God as distant, absent, or bribable. True holiness needs no props. Beliefs as chains of division. What are beliefs but fences hammered into the mind? Belief in sin, in guilt, in sacrifice, in punishment, in hierarchy of worth, belief in death, in time, in scarcity, in winning and losing. Each belief is a block to God because it divides the indivisible. They slice reality into parts and then pretend to defend one part against another. They call the wholeness of love too much and try to break it down into pieces that can be managed. Every belief says, I know better than God. And in that knowing, separation is worshipped. Roles as masks of unforgiveness. And what of roles? Parent, teacher, judge, victim, savior, enemy, lover, preacher, sinner. Roles are costumes stitched from grievances. They are masks that say, this is who I am and this is who you are. They separate where there is no separation. They imprison the Son of God inside a character, chaining identity to a script of wrongs and rights. Every role is unforgiveness because it refuses to see the face of Christ behind the mask. Why they are unholy? Why are rituals, beliefs, and roles unholy? Because they are not one. Holiness is wholeness, indivisibility, the undivided sonship. Rituals divide the sacred into steps. Beliefs divide the infinite into categories. Roles divide the Son into characters. They are unholy not because they are evil, but because they are split. To divide the indivisible is to make war against reality. How unforgiveness divides. Unforgiveness is the axe. It divides me from you, past from present, sinner from saint, guilty from innocent. It gives form to nothing, substance to shadows. It takes an imagined slight, a passing word, a story in time, and presses it into stone. That stone is then worshipped as if it were more real than God's eternal Son. The ego builds idols out of ashes and then forces the mind to bow before them. Why forgiveness is the gift? Forgiveness is the gift because it undoes every idol. It is the one present God gave to answer the dream of separation. Why? Because it undoes the battlefield. Without forgiveness, the war goes on. With forgiveness, the battlefield dissolves, not in defeat but in awakening. Forgiveness is the one bridge laid across the gap that never was. Why do people keep battling? Because grievances taste like identity. The battlefield feels like home to the ego. The mind keeps dragging the past forward, replaying wars, reciting wrongs, polishing wounds like trophies. Without forgiveness, there is only rehearsal of pain. Forgiveness alone says, the war never happened. The end of the road. Why is forgiveness the only way? Because if there were another, God would have given it. Forgiveness is the way beyond duality, beyond right and wrong, beyond judgment and defense. Forgiveness alone comes to the dream, for there is no need of it in heaven. It is the end of the road, the end of belief itself. For when all is forgiven, there is no need to believe, only to know. How it restores vision. Forgiveness restores vision because it wipes away accusation. To see a brother as he is to see without the mind's lies. The mind accuses with stories, with fantasies of what he did, what she said, what they meant. Forgiveness clears the static. Vision is not of the eyes, but of the heart, and in that vision the Christ is recognized. The undoing of the lie. This is the undoing of illusions, of fiction, of the dream of grievance. Forgiveness says, what I thought happened did not. Forgiveness is the reset button of eternity. It is the way, the truth, and the life because it alone undoes death and restores the living. And so, forgiveness is not just a choice, but the only choice. The battlefield will never end until it is laid down. And only forgiveness lays it down, because only forgiveness sees that it was never there to begin with. Picture a battlefield where no bullet ever left the gun, where no sword ever struck its mark, where no soldier ever truly fell. Only the memory of a war still fought in the shadows of a restless mind. Forgiveness enters as the only ceasefire, not by treaty, not by compromise, but by revelation, that the battle itself was smoke, the wounds imagined, the enemy a brother long mistaken. In this war that never was, there is only one escape: forgiveness. And in that escape the Son of God awakens, not to victory, not to loss, but to peace.